In this video, I want to answer the question, what is NLP? What is NLP? Well, first of all, let's get the acronym out of the way. NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. But that really doesn't help us understand anything about what it is. So, in simple terms, NLP is a tool set. It's a set of techniques, and fairly disparate techniques, that are designed to help you with managing your emotional responses to situations and communicating with other people. In fact, they're such a disparate bunch of tools and techniques that they have very little in common, apart perhaps from the fact that they're all designed to help us function better socially, to have more control of ourselves, and they all stem from observation of what some highly effective people do, and the attempt to codify it and reproduce it and teach it. And finally, they all have some basis in psychology, although I will come back to that. The original toolset was developed in the 1970s by John Grinder and Richard Bandler. Grinder and Bandler started studying some very highly effective therapists. They studied Milton Erickson, who was a hypnotherapist, Virginia Satir, who was a family therapist, and Fritz Perls, who was a psychologist. And what they tried to do is to observe how they worked and document the things that they did and said that seemed to have an effect. And by codifying and documenting what these experts said and did, they were able to study them and learn how to do very much the same themselves, and perhaps more importantly, go on to teach others to be as effective. Over the years, others have added to the toolset following the core methodology, which they called modelling, of observing, documenting, testing and refining codifications of what experts do. Over the years, NLP has gone in and out of fashion in the corporate world. It's pretty much always been in fashion in the self-help world. But in the corporate world, there have been times when sales teams have been trained in NLP communication methods because of its supposed benefits for persuasion and influence, for example. There have been times when managers have been trained with NLP as part of their training in giving and receiving feedback and managing and motivating teams. But there have been other times when NLP has fallen out of fashion. I myself first heard of NLP from a friend, but first actually encountered it in the corporate world whilst I was working with Deloitte. We were trained in some of the aspects of NLP, and then later I got myself some training to find out more about it. Now, there are some extravagant claims for the effectiveness of NLP, but the fact is there is very little academic research to back up many of the techniques. Although some of the tools that NLP offers are closely related to therapeutic techniques that have been tried and tested both academically and clinically, many of them aren't. And a lot of what NLP teaches, if you look at it, works, but it's no different to what many of us do naturally. It just teaches us to be aware of what we do that works and to apply it more consistently. But I don't say it's any the less valuable for that. So my advice is to take some of the extravagant claims with a pinch of salt. Start off by buying one of the many books about NLP and read a little bit about it for yourself if you're interested. And if this gets you even more interested, it's often relatively straightforward to find a low-cost or even free taster day in some of the big cities around the world. And if you can't find that, there may be online courses or other videos you can watch which will start to teach you some of the ideas of NLP. And only if you think that there is really something in it for you, if the ideas grab you and excite you, should you consider investing what is often quite a considerable sum in full NLP training. 15 years ago, I trained in NLP, and my experience has been that much of what I learned hasn't been useful to me in the business world. But one or two nuggets have. So what I've done is I've selected from what I've learned, I've tested it out, and I've stuck using the things that have been effective, and I've dropped everything else. So NLP is a toolkit for personal effectiveness. It can be very useful for project managers, but there are other toolkits as well, so evaluate it carefully before you think of spending large sums of money on NLP training.